I became pregnant when I was 16. My husband, 37 male, is a mix of African American and Hispanic. I'm white. He was 17 when I was knocked up. When my parents found out, they immediately kicked me out of the house and disowned me. I and my husband were alone from then on. We always used protection, but a night of drunken lust saw us discard common sense and cave in to teenage desire. Those first few years of my son's life were the most difficult I have endured. I and my husband were both kids at the time. We had no idea how to be parents. My husband was an orphan, so he also didn't have any family to lean on. Money was always a struggle. There were nights we went hungry because we spent the little we had on nappies and baby food. We went from being fun-loving teenagers to having the responsibilities of a little human being 24/7. The transition was the most difficult thing we have ever faced. As our son got older, things got better. My husband managed to create his own company with a couple of friends. It started slowly and modestly, but it exploded in our late 20s. The company continues to grow, and financially, we're in a great position today. My son is 19 years old, and he is currently in college. He's extremely intelligent, great with math. He's my pride and joy. I'm so proud of him, and I have no doubt he'll achieve great things in his life. A childhood friend, who helped I and my husband out tremendously during those early years, recently visited us and stayed for the weekend. She must have told my parents of the position I and my family are in now, because not even 2 days passed after she left, and they contacted me through Facebook. They said they were extremely sorry about what they did, and what a big mistake they made, and that I should find it in my heart to forgive them. They said they wanted to establish a relationship with my family. Then, my mom wrote that my dad had cancer and they needed money for treatment. I spoke to a cousin from my hometown, asking whether the cancer thing was true. She said, as far as she knows, it's BS. There's been no word of it in the family. I can't articulate how pissed off and hurt I was when I heard this. After all these years of not giving a crap about me or my family, they got in contact only to want a handout. I've been so upset and emotional over the last week, and it's really eating away at me. Honestly, I get it. If you think letting it out and saying, screw you guys, I'm happy and my family is happy, and I raised an awesome kid without you, then do that. It can help sometimes. Sometimes you just need to tell the other person how you feel, and then you can move on. But if you think it'd be worse, then leave it. But definitely don't give them anything. I doubt they're sorry, and I doubt they regret it. Black hole, don't respond, and block them on all platforms. You know who they are, and you know they won't and haven't changed. Don't jeopardize your emotional health or open your children up to their toxic behaviors. Backstory. I'm a full-time student and food service worker. I say this to illustrate that I am by no means wealthy. I have lived as working poor my whole adult life. When I was 12, my mother died unexpectedly. She was a single parent and my sole caregiver. I, an only child, was taken in by my aunt and uncle, who maintained legal guardianship over me until I turned 18. During this time, my aunt had 2 children of her own. They are both teenagers now, and while they are my cousins by blood, I consider them my siblings. We are very close. My mother had a valid will that bequeathed me everything as her sole inheritor. But growing up, I was told my mother did not leave me any inheritance. This made sense to me because of the circumstances of her death and the amount of debt she was in at the time. House had just been refinanced, car was leased, medical bills, etc. When all was said and done, there just wasn't anything left in her estate for you. I was told this several times growing up. I accepted this as the truth because I trusted the adults in the room. My biological father was estranged my whole life, but we maintained rare correspondence over Facebook. Mostly negative. He's an enormous douche. May of last year, we got into a heated argument over Messenger. I went for a low blow and said something like, if you ever want to alleviate some guilt, you have my Venmo information, plus 12 years of unpaid child support, and I'd rather take your money than your BS. He then dropped this on me. If you have money troubles, then look to your aunt and uncle. You should have been set for life with your mother's insurance policy, but they clearly didn't teach you how to handle money. Guys, this was the first I'd heard of any insurance policy. This was one conversation sent to me on a fact-finding mission, and boy, what a ride. Turns out, my aunt accepted close to $500,000 in insurance proceeds on my behalf in the wake of my mother's death. Shout out to Cigna for digging out 17-year-old records. She also collected close to $100,000 in my mother's Social Security benefits. We moved to a different state a few months after her death, and it appears the house I grew up in was bought with proceeds from the insurance policy. They sold the house at a profit when I turned 18, and the seller is listed as the estate of Boots Wit Defer. But from there, the money trail pretty much vanishes. I never received a dime of it and had no idea I was even entitled to it. Needless to say, I'm suing the crap out of them. This has been in litigation for almost a year, and a jury trial is scheduled late summer. During all these filings and proceedings, my aunt and uncle have taken a very firm stance of deny, deny, deny. They have not provided an accounting of the money, despite numerous requests to do so, but have lived a cushy middle-class lifestyle this whole time. My side of the family has disowned my aunt entirely. My aunt and uncle have cut all contact with my siblings and I. They have forbidden me from coming by the house or to contact any of them in any way. I've written off my aunt and uncle at this point, but I miss my siblings dearly. The eldest isn't too far from 18, but my aunt is a textbook narcissist and manipulator. I worry about what they're being told about me, and if I'll be able to have a relationship once this is all said and done. Enter my grandmother, M. M is my uncle's mother, and we are not related by blood. However, growing up, she treated me like a granddaughter. She lives a few states away, so I only get to see her once or twice a year, but I love her dearly and believe she has the same affection for me. I haven't seen her since the start of the pandemic, and to the best of my knowledge, she has no idea that I'm suing her son and daughter-in-law for all they're worth. We maintain contact over Facebook. She is also very close to and beloved by my siblings. Guys, I want to tell her everything. I have this strong urge to just completely throw her son and daughter-in-law under the bus because A, duck my aunt and uncle. They don't deserve the boons of a relationship with such a lovely woman. And B, she might be my only link to ensuring any future relationship with my siblings is not poisoned by lies. I have not done so because I believe in this case, ignorance might be bliss. I also have reason to believe that she will A, stand by her son no matter the amount of wrongdoing, and B, do whatever it takes to maintain relationships with her natural-born grandchildren. And what kind of monster would I be to jeopardize that? There's also the argument that maybe she would want to know this is going on. She's the only major player in this story still kept in the dark, and maybe I should be the one to control how she finds out. But y'all must understand, my motivations are not pure. They are fueled in part by revenge. I have kept silent thus far so as not to antagonize my aunt and uncle during the legal proceedings. However, as the trial date gets closer, it has become more and more apparent that I have a winning case. Now with them cutting off contact to my siblings, I feel I have nothing to lose and everything to gain by telling M what's been going on. What to do? Any grandparents care to weigh in? Would you want to know, or would it be best to let this lie? Any and all advice welcome. Whoa! The slimy things people do for money, family included. I think eventually your grandmother will find out anyways, especially by the time the verdict or settlement occurs. She might even think that money was given to your aunt from your mother's estate, rather than you. You could take her aside if you see her in person if able, and tell her that you want her to hear the truth from you. Of course, this is with the risk that she may say something to her son. But since you're estranged at the moment, what have you got to lose? My dad is a functioning alcoholic, in my opinion. He doesn't get jitters when he doesn't drink, that I've seen, but he also rarely never drinks. He is a retired naval officer, high-ranking, and despite having a bad back, is still in his late 50s and enjoying retirement. At this point, he drinks almost every day, and while unhealthy, I can understand how the hot weather, retired mentality, and a pool in your backyard can lead to having a few drinks every day. I'll cut to the chase. 1 year ago, at my cousin's wedding in my hometown, my dad drove to and then proceeded to drive home from the reception. Prior to him driving home, there was a plethora of people, my sister, my cousin, my girlfriend, and myself, all telling my dad that he should not drive home due to the amount of drinking he had done. Was he falling, slurring, or doing things hammered people do? No. Was he drinking all afternoon before having a few waters and getting in the car? Yes. Is that okay? Well, this is why I'm here. After a family event where everyone was drinking heavily and partying, where tons of family is watching you leave, why drive? To make matters worse, one of my cousins, whom I'm ashamed to admit is a bit of a racist redneck, was supporting him the whole time with, "He's fine, he's a grown-up, he's your dad, you can't tell him what to do. Let these kids get a ride themselves." Basically just giving my dad an out. Since he had someone on his side, he can't be totally wrong. He drove off. It was crappy. I was mad. It just kind of went stale as a topic. So now here we are, 1 year later, and my sister got married. It was a big day. He was very involved and did a great job helping out on all fronts. As you can guess, he drinks the whole night and expects us to just let him drive home. Well, it was literally a repeat of a year ago, with multiple people begging him not to drive. Except this time, I stood in front of his door. I calmly said to him, "Dad, I know you think this is no big deal, but it's a very big deal to me. You are setting a horrible precedent for our little cousins and next generation. I cannot condone this a second time, and if you choose to do this again, I am not going to continue to have you in my life. I cannot support you when you willingly put yourself in harm's way while your family is begging you not to." He looked at me, said move, and got in his car. He drove off. The next morning, I opened my phone and blocked his number. My girlfriend was astonished and said she thought I was bluffing. It's been 2 weeks, and he's tried to contact me several ways, but I will not respond, nor give him any indication I've read what he said, if possible. It's to the point where my family is beginning to turn on me, saying that I am in the wrong and that I should forgive him. I just don't know if I can. How can I forgive someone who has such little respect for himself, his family, and obviously his relationship with his son? I'm very lost and not sure what to do. I could certainly stick to this decision, and want to, if I didn't have almost my entire family telling me I shouldn't. Please help with some advice. I can clarify anything that needs clarification for a response. You don't want your dad to put himself or another person or family at risk. That's your line in the sand. He crossed it. You stood your ground and followed through. That is how you enforce your boundaries. Kudos to you. Your family telling you that you overreacted is telling. They would rather everyone be happy than safe and well. Your dad sounds like a selfish alcoholic. Stand your ground and tell the cops to keep an eye out for him on the roads. Doing so just might save his or someone else's life.